Hello, how's it going? Zach D Productions here, and I'm here for a movie review for you guys. So for this review, I'll be reviewing Iron Man 2, which I know a lot of people say is the weakest of the trilogy, but it might be, but I still think it's a great movie. It's definitely a step down from the first one, and the first Iron Man movie was the first MCU movie. It was the movie that basically started it all for the MCU. Although you could argue that the X-Men and maybe even Spider-Man is, because of the whole multiverse thing that's going on now, but you know, for the time being, Iron Man was the first. But then we had the sequel. This movie came out in 2010, and yeah, I do think it's a solid movie. I've even seen some people say it's the worst of all of the MCU movies. I've seen people even go as far to say that. For me, I don't think so. I think that this movie is pretty solid. I'm not even sure what I would consider my least favorite of the MCU films, actually, but it's really tough because there's a lot of very strong movies in the MCU. But yeah, I remember when this movie came out, I remember seeing it in theaters, and I remember just really loving it. And, you know, nowadays I wouldn't say that I love it, but I do like it a lot, though. Even when the trailers for this movie started to come out, I remember being really blown away by the trailers. I'm thinking, whoa, this looks awesome. Yeah, I still think it's a good movie. Now, like with the first movie, this movie does pale in comparison to a lot of the newer MCU movies. And you know, of course, AC/DC's in the soundtrack. Now, if you know me well enough, I'm not really an AC/DC fan. Do I think they're bad? No, but never was I really a huge fan of them. But I wouldn't say that I mind them too much or anything. But either way, yeah, they definitely play a big part in this movie, in the soundtrack. And this is, of course, when Scarlett Johansson makes her debut as the Black Widow, and the fight scenes with her and those guards in this movie, I mean, that's definitely one of the highlights of this movie for sure, at least in my opinion. And of course, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. I mean, again, you really can't see anyone else playing this character. I mean, he does a really good job as Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. And, you know, of course, he's kind of a show-off, and, you know, he does a good job, you know, staying in character in this film. And the villain in this movie is Whiplash, and the scenes with him are really fun to watch as well. The race car scene, you know, when he's trying to take out Tony Stark, you know, when those cars, you know, and everything. That whole scene and that whole sequence, really fun to watch, as well as the prison scene as well, when he's breaking out of prison. That part was really cool. Kind of edgy, but, you know, or at least there's some parts of that that are kind of like, I don't want to say cliche, but I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah. But either way, still pretty fun to watch. And the final battle, final battle's okay. Not the most memorable final battle in the MCU, but it's done decently. Oh, and this is when Rhodey becomes the War Machine. So that is something to note as well. But yeah, this movie, it does have its moments. It does. It's definitely a landmark movie in the MCU. But again, it's definitely not as good as the first. Now, I will say that the villain in this movie, I actually might like more than the villain in the first movie. I don't know, I just find the villain in this movie a lot more intriguing. But either way, pretty solid movie. So, Iron Man 2, definitely a good one, worth checking out for sure. If you've seen the first one, but not this one, definitely check out this one. So, if I were to give this movie a score, I'll probably give it maybe a 7.5 out of 10. I'd say it's a good movie, but not a great movie. There are some things about it that are a little underwhelming, but for what it's worth, it's a good movie. So let me know what you guys think of the movie Iron Man 2. So On that note, thanks for watching and have a good one.